Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Hurdle the Line preview show brought to you by the AAW Network. I am your host, Fletch, and joining me, as always, is Sam. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Very
We've
good.
got no Carl this week, but I'm pretty sure by now, by this point, I'm sure we can do it ourselves.
Just
Obviously,
about.
Carl does tend to carry our weight for us, and it must be a bad back or something from carrying the podcast for so long. But I'm sure we can do it. Lots to talk about this week. We wanted to do a little bit of we've kind of got a little bit of sad news in the fact that the Fantasy Den won't be like for the rest of the season. We're just going to kind of shelf it. So today we're going to do a little bit of fantasy football talk. And should we get round to it, which I'm almost certain we will, Sam and we're going to have a little chat. There's just a couple of teams who we think maybe are at a crossroads. And, a win could save, that's the end of it. Sorry, a win, they can kick on, lose end of the season, and we're looking at it's not a great place to be. Before we do get into it though, don't forget you can follow us in the AAW network on the socials, join our free to join Discord, and find all the relevant links and information in the description of this episode. They are right below Sam's beautiful face and my face too. If you are listening on Spotify or Apple, you can do so via the app that you are listening in. Right, Sam. First up, though, it's the news. I haven't really got anything. It's been a bit of a quiet week on my end from news. Have you seen anything?
I have seen a little bit. Keon Coleman is going to be he's going to have another week as a healthy scratch. Um, from what I've read, I don't know how much of a truth it is, but it looks like they're going to basically healthy scratch him for another week due to the fact that the offense was actually performing quite well
Yeah.
um, in their win. So don't know whether there's been any more sort of issues with Keon Coleman, but essentially he is not going to be playing in week 12. The other news, which I think a lot of Bengals fans will be happy about, is Joe Burrow was back in training this week,
Yeah.
taking QB1 snaps, with Joe Flacco taking QB2, which is obviously massive news for the Bengals going into their game week this week.
Yeah.
So obviously we'll probably talk about that when it comes to talking about fantasy choices.
Yeah.
Um, but those are sort of the big news bits that I've seen. The only other bit of news that I saw, if I remember rightly, I'll just quickly find it. Um, that was it. It was Joe Mixon is not expected to play this season. So obviously he's been on PUP since the start of the season. So
Yeah.
it looks like he is not going to play at all this
Yeah.
season, which obviously massive annoyance for me because I drafted him in a lot of leagues thinking at some point he's going to play because he was going fairly cheap. There's a reason he was going fairly cheap because he's not playing a single game. So, but that's
Yeah.
all the news I have.
The only bit that I saw this week, because look, if you don't realize by now, both Sam and I are on the college football pod. And just the amount that goes on with college football, it's a little bit more difficult to keep on top of NFL things as well at the same time. Just so much. There is one bit I've seen though, Sam, and I'm going to try and do this. I'm going to butcher it. I'm going to butcher this very thing, and you're going to probably find this hilarious, and I'll deal with the ramifications of that. Le football américain arriva de France. I'm trying to put an accent on with it. I'm just not going to bother.
Oh, of course. Oh, yeah. The Paris news. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the NFL is due to play a game in Paris potentially as early as 2026, and what I believe is the New Orleans Saints will be the ones traveling to France next
Yeah.
year,
They
as
will
they're
be.
the
I
only
think
ones.
yeah, the president, I think, has pretty much come out and confirmed or almost confirmed it without officially confirming it. But that's from knowing Saints fans, I think that's been the worst kept secret in Saints
Yeah,
groupings anyway. They expected the moment that they were going to play in Paris, it was going to be the Saints that were there. Um, so yeah, that's not surprising in the slightest.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at what we've tended to find, although it's not always worked out exactly this way, teams tend to go now if they're gonna play in another country. It'll be a team that's got international marketing rights within that country. So Steelers have uh Ireland. Um the Steelers were the first ones to have Ireland. They have Ireland. They played in Ireland. Um the Saints are the only team who have France. Obviously, Germany now has the Falcons, the Panthers, the Lions, the Packers, the Colts, the Chiefs, the Patriots, the Giants, the Steelers, the Seahawks, and the Bucks. But most years you will find it's one of those teams who heads to Germany. Obviously, this year it was the Colts. The year before, it's been the Chiefs, it's been the Patriots. So you tend to find that a lot of the teams are what matches up to the country and the global marketing rights. It makes the most sense.
Yeah,
So, like the Saints in France makes perfect sense.
yeah, and I think it's yeah, I think when you look at some of the other teams in terms of where they've got, like, if there was ever to be a game in Canada, Buffalo or Cincinnati would be probably one of the teams that would play up there again because they have the rights in Canada.
Yeah.
Um, and obviously, I think the big one really for the Rams is that obviously they have Australia, and I think we've
Yes.
already talked about this that they have their um, NFL international program out that they sort of their link is with Australia, and then they also have the marketing rights out in Australia as well. So I've said probably for the last year and a bit now that the moment that they announce a game in Australia, it's likely going to be um, the Los Angeles Rams and probably Philadelphia Eagles because again they're another team that have got marketing rights out there and um, they have also got um, their program out in Australia as well.
Yeah.
So it
Well,
wouldn't surprise me. And we actually do play the Eagles away next year. So if they are going to bring
by
in a
Lata.
2026 game, it's likely that it's going to be that game.
Makes so much sense. And I think they already have confirmed that there will be an Australia game. There will be the Rams.
I think they
It's
said it was
like
going to be next year, didn't they?
2026.
Yeah,
It's even here on the International Series Wikipedia page. Um, will you be going to that game, Sam?
I
As
wish.
a little quick trip to Australia.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to go, but there's no way I'm going to be able to afford to get over there.
Coming up.
If I can't make the trip over to just even just to New York to go and watch them, I'm not going to travel 24 hours to go and watch them in Australia.
That's a good point. Now, what I realise is me and Mrs. Fletch, I was about to drag Mrs. Fletch all the way over to Frankfurt to watch Michigan. Now, Mrs. Fletcher's
You
team,
may be going to
Mrs. Fletcher's team in the City of Love, um, I'm almost guaranteeing there'll
yeah.
probably be a Paris trip next year. I just want to go for Disney. I'll be honest with you. I just want to go do Euro Disney.
Mhm.
Obviously, that's all I want. And she can have the football because that's what she wants. Um,
You know
although,
you do have a game against New Orleans next year.
do you know,
The only thing
that'd
is
be
the only thing is it's a home game.
oh now
So
right. Let me put you this to you then. Saints Lions in France. Then the week after, Lions whoever in Germany.
possibly
Dan Campbell.
Chicago versus the Lions in Germany.
I don't
Not
think,
that Chicago wouldn't do it. They don't do home games abroad.
and I don't think they would do. Well, obviously, they're in the division. You play them twice, but I also don't think the Lions would want to give up a divisional game,
I know
especially
that
with
the Bears definitely wouldn't because they've said that before is one of the reasons why they'd never play abroad because or they'd never play a home game abroad because there's too much generated income with their divisional
Yeah.
home games.
Um, yeah. I wouldn't want a divisional game. You'd want someone like the extra additional AFC opponent that you'll get. And I think
Mm.
I've got it in my head that we've got the AFC South next year. It'll be the Jags or the Texans. Who gives two craps about that game? Go play that one in Germany. No one will care. Um, but
Next year. Oh yeah, I'm looking at the Saints. That's why. Um,
I think I can't remember off the top of my head which is the additional 17th game that we've got from which division in the AFC, but I'm almost certain it's the
I,
South.
I don't think they've actually officially been announced yet. That extra game yet.
They'll tell you which one is the uh right. They'll tell you which conference it is, and they have like because they're all mapped out because it does like a round robin. Um,
Yeah.
but they won't obviously you won't know which opponent because it's based on where they finish in their division and you finish in yours.
Mm.
AFC South to be determined. Yeah. So yeah, we've got the NFC South and the AFC and the additional AFC opponent will be the AFC
Yeah.
South. Oh, I'm buzzing for that one. We'll kick their asses anyway. The AFC South, no one cares. Um, and if you are a fan of an AFC South team, I'm not even sorry. I'm not sorry. Um, okay. So anyway, that's the I think the biggest piece of news. We get an extra NFL game in Europe. People will complain about how we get screwed over in England and in the UK with the games that we get. France is getting the Saints, so no one
Yeah.
can complain with that one. I'm sorry, it's true, Mrs. Fletch. I'm sorry. It's like no one can. You're getting the Saints, like, as bad as it gets.
Well, you could get the Titans, to be fair.
Well, put it this way: France might really enjoy watching Fernando Mendoza play next year. So there's always that. Um. Anyway, getting into fantasy football and looking at week 12, I want us to. We're gonna go through each position, a start and a sit at each position fantasy den style, but instead of having one person take a position, we'll both just kind of bounce off each other with it. Um, start with the quarterbacks, obviously. Looking at the fixtures for this weekend, who is, and obviously we won't do, can't just do Josh Allen because that's obvious, or Lamar Jackson because that's obvious. Who would the slightly more depth pieces that you would be looking at for quarterback one this week in fantasy football?
So I would be looking at Jacoby Brissett. They play the Jaguars. I know the Jaguars have obviously been better on defense this year, but they've still shown that they can give up points. Um, I think looking at Brissett on his own, apparently, and this is I've just looked this up. That's why I've got it in front of me and I'm looking away. He has just
Yeah.
set the NFL record for completions and was the first ever player to complete over 80% of passes in a game with 50 plus attempts. He has averaged 21.3 fantasy PPG in his 5 starts, and a number only topped by Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and Jackson Dart. Um, so he would be the guy that I'd be looking at to start this week.
Yeah.
Obviously, with all the injuries that have been going around the league at the moment, it's likely that someone has him, and I'd be starting him over some. There's a few others that I've got, which I'm sure we'll come on to, but um, he's maybe someone that I'd be looking to start over a couple others.
Yeah, I mean, Jacoby Brissett was my one as well. I was looking here. 5 starts, 21.7, 19.76, 24.84, 19.42, 23.58 points in each of the games. Jags out for the 14th in coverage, 20th in pass rush, 10th in tackling per PFF, They had a good game versus the Chargers, but overall, what they seem to do is have a good game and then two or three not great games. Yes, they're better than they were in previous years, but it's still not. They're very susceptible, as you say,
Yeah.
to not being a great team. As far as sits go, I'm going to throw this one out there. Dak Prescott. And I know that the Cowboys have been very good on offense this season. It's absolutely the defense that has been their problem. I can't help but shake the fact that it's the Eagles that they're playing.
Mm,
And there's just it's the Eagles that the Cowboys are a tentative sit. What the Eagles did to the Lions, who I would say are a more potent offense than with a more complex offense. They're a more there's more going on within the offense. There are more pieces that you need to pay attention to. There's more trouble that can be caused. And the more of a wild card on your 4th and 3 when you probably wouldn't go for it, the Lions will. The I can't help but shake the fact that at the end of the day, that this Eagles defense has just made the Packers look silly and then the Lions look very, very silly on offense.
yeah. It's an odd defense is the Eagles because we saw a lot of them last year and they weren't particularly great. And then they didn't start the year particularly great. But then all of a sudden, the last few performances, they've really sort of won them the game, really. They won them the sort of by preventing the other offense from getting anywhere. It's allowed them to just be that sort of stalling offense that they've recently been. So I think it's a good shout. I certainly wouldn't be looking at it. But again, I think the difficulty is that I don't think in most leagues, especially if you've just got a QB1 league, it's very difficult at the moment to pick a QB to start if you've got only a certain amount of players. So
Yeah.
it's a difficult one. Someone that I was going to look at, and this might be a bit of a wild, or maybe a hot take. I don't know if it would be really, but I'd be looking at maybe sitting Daniel Jones this week. They've got to play the
Yeah.
Chiefs, and the Chiefs' defense is again very similar. It's very good, and I think they're gonna be required. They're going to be leaning a lot on Jonathan Taylor because we know what Spags likes to do to quarterbacks, and usually it's destroy them. So um, I would be looking to. Obviously, if you have to start him, you have to start him. But I would probably at, at best be sticking him in flex position.
Um, no, I absolutely agree that as good as this Colts offense is, this Chiefs defense is not to be fucked around with.
Mm.
Um, and I'm sure we'll figure out at the weekend who. Well, I'll tell everyone on Saturday who I think's gonna win. Uh, or who I will put in my pick'ems. Which, by the way, please watch our pick'em show on a Saturday when it's released. Even if I do think the Colts are gonna win, it doesn't mean I think that Daniel Jones is going to have the greatest day, or it's not going to be a frustrating
Yeah.
day, or it's not going to throw a pick or two, or it's gonna be a frustrating day if you're Daniel Jones.
Mm.
And that's just the reality of playing the Chiefs at Arrowhead.
Mm.
Um, I don't want to just I don't want to just do a sit 'em, so I'll bring you a start 'em. I was tempted to go with my boy,
Jackson Dart.
but I'm not. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna. Um, I'm gonna go with Caleb Williams again. It's a tough week again. If you can't go through the main guy, the obvious ones, I'd be tempted to get a bit of Caleb Williams action. His completion percentage is going down a bit, and it's got gradually worse. But I don't. They're getting the offense is getting a bit more complex, and these things are gonna happen. Look, Ben, we all know what Ben Johnson's like, with it wants to have with his offense, and how complex it's going to end up being. This is an interesting Steelers defense that is absolutely susceptible, excuse me, to some struggles. And something that the Bears, with the talent that they have, I think that Caleb Williams will have a good day with it, not just in the passing game, but getting yards on the ground as well, because they've got to count for more, as they always do. Um, it's all going to be about if they can survive the pass rush.
Yeah.
TJ Watt barreling down at you isn't going to be. Which, by the way, right, this is totally off top, not totally off topic, but kind of off topic. I don't use Facebook. I have a Facebook account. I don't use it. I don't like it. It's not my kind of platform. Oh, it's not anymore. It's not. Went on today on my personal account for the first time in about 3 weeks. And what should I see pop up on the top post? Someone screenshotted a tweet about an argument, someone making the case of how much better Miles Garrett is than TJ Watt. Only Ollie in it. No, it's not Ollie sending this post in. It's someone else who's found Ollie's post on Twitter, screenshotted it, brought it over to Facebook, and started going on. And I found it to be the funniest thing ever. I even like me and Ollie have had a bit of back and forth. I'm not gonna just let someone chat shit about him on Facebook and have him not know about it. So I sent it to him, and we've had a good little laugh about it. Um, yeah, just speaking about TJ Watt, quite funny that logged onto Facebook today for the first time in ages and
He's
pop
there.
up and someone's popping off at Ollie
Yeah.
over TJ Watt. Is there another start or sit that you can think of at QB wise? Anyone
For
standing out?
QB, I mean, you, I would probably say,
Here's
I
one
mean,
for you. I've got a question for you more than anything. Jackson Dart against the Lions. What do you think about that one? Because I've seen, like, obviously, as I do some of this research and as I was doing for, I'll go and see what other people are also saying because I might have this opinion and everybody else is going, shut up,
mm,
that's stupid. Or I might say this person's a guaranteed start in my eyes, and then everyone else is saying it's a sit. I want to make sure that I don't want to just say what everyone else is saying, but I want to at least make sure that I'm not like going so against this grade. I see a lot of people saying that Jackson Dart is a star against the Lions, and I don't think so.
I would probably say he's probably a start in fantasy because he does run the ball a fair bit. Like he has got legs. I think that's where he'll pick up a lot of points because they'll be
Yeah.
relying on him to potentially get them out of problems. Obviously, you've got Aiden Hutchinson who is going to be bearing down on him every single snap. And I think he's going to have to play a game where he's going to have to get out of that pocket so fast that there's going to be opportunities for him to rush. So that's the only thing I can maybe see.
Oh,
But I wouldn't be confident starting him. But if I'd maybe consider it in maybe like say if you were going like if you had a super flex league, I'd maybe start him as you super flex, depending on your other options. But he certainly wouldn't be
hmm.
a guy on my if you're thinking who are you definitely going to start, he wouldn't
Yeah.
be on there for me.
No, fair enough. Fair enough.
There is
And
someone that
oh,
I've and ahed about, and obviously you've mentioned the fact that he's taken snaps in training, is Joe Burrow. And I don't know whether I would be willing to risk starting him in any league because in most of the leagues that you have Joe Burrow, he was your QB1. He was the guy you picked in the first round. Is he worth starting? I don't know because they are playing the Patriots and the Patriots defense is pretty good. So I'd maybe I'd maybe give it a week before starting him because then after that they've got the Ravens, which I think is much more of a field day
Yeah.
for um for someone like Burrow than the Patriots.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's fair. I hate it when you get to this kind of part of the season when is someone coming back? Are they not? Are they going to be on a snap count? Are they not? What are they going to limit them to? What are they not? Burrows are a really, really weird one.
My only thing is if Burrow is even 90% fit, he plays. You've got to
Yeah.
play him as if you're a Bengal, especially in the fact that they're what 4-7.
90% sorry, 90% Joe Burrow or 100%
Sorry,
Joe
three. They're
Flacco.
3-7. So playoffs is probably it's a hit and hope.
Yeah.
I think they need to win out in order to get into the playoffs, and I don't see them beating the Patriots this week. So
Yeah.
if I personally, if I was the Bengals, I'd be sitting it. I wouldn't be playing him against the Patriots. Take the L, and then I'd be looking at maybe starting him from next week because at that point you're playing against much friendlier defenses. I mean, you've got the Ravens twice, the Dolphins, the Cardinals, and then the Bills and the Browns. So
Yeah.
to me, I think you're probably playing him. You're not playing him this week. You play him against the Ravens, Bills, Ravens, Dolphins, Cardinals, and then what I would probably do is drop him for the is drop him for the Browns game because you do not want him to be getting absolutely steamrolled by Miles Garrett.
Yeah, that's a very, very fair point. That is a very fair point. Um, no, I'm with you. I'm with you. If I have Joe Burrow, I'm not risking it this week.
Yeah,
I just can't unless yeah, I'm not risking it. I want to move on to running backs. I want to start us off with running backs. And I'm gonna say Travion Henderson is my main start. Now, obviously, he's had a less than how do we word it? It's not been the greatest start for him in New England. He hasn't really popped off. And then the last two games, he's gone off,
yeah,
especially from a fantasy football perspective. So in week 10, when he had his best game up until week 10 was, funnily enough, week 9, but only just when he got 12.7 points. His best game other than that was week 4 when it was 12.6, which is nothing to truly shake a stick at. Like if your fantasy running back's getting you 12 points on average a game, you're RB1. Look, I've had worse from RB1s. I've had much worse from
yeah,
RB1s. But the last two games, so Tampa Bay, 14 attempts, 147 yards, two touchdowns on the ground, a reception, and 3 yards. Put up 28 points. And then against the Jets, 19 attempts, 62 yards, two touchdowns, but five receptions for 31 yards. Uh, and a touchdown. So that's three touchdowns in general. So you got 18 points there, 6.2 on the ground, plus five, plus your 3.1. He ended up walking away with 32.3 points last week. So for someone who struggled to start the season to walk away with 60 points in 2 weeks, that's normally a good sign. And then you're against a Bengals team that isn't the greatest against the run. I need to check some of the stats against the run, actually.
no, they are down there as one of the worst.
Yeah, if you look at PFF, run defense, they are 32nd out of 32. So the worst in the league. Apologies, I butted my microphone. The worst run defense in the league. And in fact, out of 32 teams, they are number 32 in just defense overall ranking.
Mm,
So I'd expect someone like Travion Henderson to have a lot of fun this weekend and continue a streak of
yeah,
playing well.
yeah, I agree. He was on my list. The other guy that I would be looking at, again, trying to avoid the obvious ones. You're gonna probably play Jameer Gibbs against New York. You're probably going to play the likes of Bijan Robinson. But someone that I would be potentially considering is Kenneth Walker. Now, I know there's been a lot of discussions around recently with is it Kenneth
Yes.
Walker, is it Charbonnet? And again, that Tennessee Titans defense is not good against the run. And I think, we saw what Walker could do when he was playing against the Rams last week, in terms of his physicality, um, and his ability to run. I think this could be a good week for him to really step up and actually do well. Um,
Yeah.
the other one that I did have, and I think this more harks back to um, the Lions last year, is David Montgomery. I think he's going to really benefit in this game, in terms of probably not getting crazy yards, but he could be the sort of guy that needs to be there for the touchdowns and just pounding it in from like the 3-4 yard line. Um, so I could see that happening a fair bit. So he's someone that I'd be looking at, again, as potentially someone in a flex position, or if you needing to start him, start over someone who's maybe missing a bye week like Jonathan Taylor was last week.
Yeah. No, it's David Montgomery was on my list, and I also think that it's going to be one of them where, like, if the Lions go up a bit early
Mm,
and Jameer Gibbs is having a good stretch in he's had a good stretch, and David Montgomery comes in and he's just taking the primary snaps at running back. That's happened twice this year. They've
mm,
basically brought Gibbs out the game and just said, David Montgomery, you go run it up. They did it against the Ravens. And that's when David Montgomery ended up going off on like that 75 odd yard not touchdown run, the 75 odd yard run.
mm.
Um, as far as sits go, I mean, I think I said it in the sits in the quarterback room. I'm going back to the Cowboys and I'm saying Javonte Williams. I'm, I'm sitting, yeah. And again, look, it's uh, it's just an Eagles thing, and
Mm.
with all due respect to Javonte Williams, Jameer Gibbs is a better running back, and they shut Jameer Gibbs down
Mm.
for the most part of the game. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't be doing that to Javonte Williams instead as
Yeah,
well.
which is an interesting one because the Eagles' defense is ranked 21st in the run game, but the last 2 weeks they've stopped the runners significantly much better than what Javonte Williams is. So, yeah, it's an odd one, but I probably agree with that one. Someone that I would probably not be starting this week is, and again, I don't know what the situation is with who the running back is, but just any running back for the Buccaneers, because the one thing that we've done exceptionally well this year is prevent the run.
Yeah,
There's been a few big runs in terms of yardages and making the odd like sort of 7-8 yard runs, but we've not given up a lot of runs this year. I mean, I think even the first quarter they had barely anything. I think maybe 20 yards against the Seahawks. So I wouldn't be looking to start any of the Buccaneer running backs, whether it's Tucker or Rashad White or whoever it is that's going to be running. I don't know who runs for them anymore. They're
yeah.
all injured. I don't
Well,
know if Bucky Irving's due to be back this week or what, but
um, I must say I don't know what the full crack is with Bucky Irving. I know he's close to returning, could be this weekend, might not be this weekend, we don't know. I was kind of hoping you wouldn't have done the whole we're the Rams and we're going to stop the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, so I could come in and say I'm sitting the whoever's running for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I could kiss some Rams ass for a second. But nope, you did the fun thing, said your team,
Yeah, I did the Homer thing.
which is absolutely fine because it was going to happen anyway. That was going to get a mention. I don't think it is. It's not. Yeah, it's a very reasonable mention. I'm also gonna say myself, Tony Pollard. That Seahawks, they're not running up anything on that Seahawks defense. I mean, oh, let me get them back up again. I don't think I've seen anyone really with Tony Pollard. You're
No,
probably more
to
likely
be
to see
honest,
someone with
I've
Vicky
barely seen
Pollard.
anything. I've barely seen anything of Tony Pollard.
I'm sure I've seen Vicky Pollard in fantasy leagues more than I've seen Tony Pollard.
Yeah,
And our American audience, that's just gone right over their heads. Again, according to PFF, the Tennessee Titans have the number 32 run game in the league. And I don't
that
need to
doesn't
remind
surprise me.
everyone, there's 32 teams in the league. They're the bloody worst at it. What? So that's just the running. What about the run blocking? Run blocking the 25th out of 32. They're the bottom quarter of everyone. That's not a good running team anyway. As far as run defense goes, the Seattle Seahawks are seventh. And
Yeah,
it's oh no, pass rush is what they've got. The D line is the best part of this is according to PFF as well. And as I reminded someone before, look, games are not played on PFF. PFF
no,
grades don't tell you everything. But at the
they
end of
are.
the day,
They're a top 10. They're a top. I would say a top five defense this year. They've been absolutely phenomenal. So, yeah, I certainly wouldn't be looking at starting Pollard anytime soon.
no, absolutely with you there. So then we move on to the wide receivers. Sam, give us a starter.
Hmm. Uh, I'm gonna go with someone who had a good week last week, and I think he's going to need to have a good week this week. I think he might have a good week this week. Is Michael Wilson. Now, I said last week in the pick him players for fancy game day to play Michael Wilson, and he went off. And I think I'm not sure what Marvin Harrison Jr.'s situation is like, but even if he is back, I think he'll look towards him as a second wide receiver anyway. So he could be one to look at and to potentially start this week. The other guy that I would be looking at is Jameson Williams, because one of the things that I think, you know, Paulson Adebo is probably going to be attached to Amon-Ra St. Brown's hip all game, which will then free up Jameson Williams for the deep ball threat. Um, and I could see him potentially balling out this week. So um,
Yeah.
he would be one that I'd be looking at as well.
Since the bye, Jameson Williams had a 16-point game against the Vikings, a 23.9 point game against the Commanders, and then a 19.7 point game against the Eagles. He scored 3 touchdowns in 3 games and it was one apiece, by the way. It wasn't like two in one and one in another. It's one touchdown in every single game. He's had 66 yards, 119 and 88 yards. Since this bye week, they've clearly made a conscious effort to give Jameson Williams the ball more. It's something I thought they were going to do anyway against the Browns. He was targeted 8 times. He only received the ball twice. Against the Packers in week one, he received the ball 4 times, although they weren't for very many yards. I'm not going to lie to you there, Sam. And against the Chiefs, six receptions. So
Yeah.
he's starting to see more receptions, and those are starting to translate into yards. And anyone who knows anything Lions is like, once Jameson Williams gets the ball, like he's lights out. He's
Mhm.
so fast that getting the ball in his hands normally means good things tend to happen. So I'm absolutely with you there on Jameson Williams. I would have done the whole thing. My pick for starting is the Philadelphia Eagles. And then when you say Fletch, you can't start a team at wide receiver. I'm saying that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if you're looking at a flex position where you need a little bit of depth, if you're looking at one of your starters like AJ Brown or Devontae Smith, the answer is yes. This Cowboy defense is not good. So if you're asking who should I start with the Eagles, who should I have from the Eagles? The answer is just simply yes. Like, yes, just take anyone from the Eagles. They were going to torch that defense.
Yeah, I agree. Dallas are the 27th worst team in against the pass this year.
Yeah. They've been torched by it all year. All year. It's not been pretty, and they've deserved, well, I say they deserved it. But, like, the Eagles, Devontae Smith, yes. AJ Brown, yes. Any depth, but we'll get onto tight ends in a second, but, like, Dallas got it, yes. Like,
Yes.
do I take someone from the Eagles? Yes, take some of them. Anything you can get Eagles this weekend, take the Eagles. Um, but as far as a sit goes, who are you sitting?
Um, I would probably be looking at. I would probably sit anyone on the card. Sorry, anyone on the 49ers that isn't George Kittle. So
Uh,
Ricky Pearsall, Joanne Jennings, Kendrick Bourne, just any of those. Um, and yes, they are playing the Carolina Panthers, but the Carolina Panthers are the seventh best team in terms of the passing, well, against wide receivers in the passing game.
yeah.
Um, and whether it's Brock Purdy or whether it's Mac Jones, if it's Brock Purdy, you know that he's going to basically be looking at George Kittle every single time, or Christian McCaffrey. So I would probably not be looking at those wide receivers um, at all, really.
No, fair. I was also going to jump in and say I'm not as far as team go. But you can't just keep giving us teams for wide receivers. Yes, I can. My one today for six is the Indianapolis Colts for reasons as you've mentioned above with regards to Daniel Jones. And as you've just said there, yeah, you're talking about the Panthers being seventh best in pass against the pass, and we're talking about receivers. Well, unless you're Lamar Jackson that one time, yes, it takes both a quarterback and a receiver to have a passing game. So you've got to be on receivers equally as much, if not better, for the most. Excuse me, for the most part. So if you've got a good defense against the pass, that normally means you're pretty good against those receivers as well, and those receivers aren't getting much out of it. And as you said, the that Kansas City Chiefs defense is not to be trifled with. Spags will have a lot of different things going on. The things that I like to watch about the Colts at the moment and how breaking down some of the plays, I know how complex and just how much intricacy goes into having that offense work the way it does to give Daniel Jones the ability to make the simple throws and keep making the game simple for him and slow for him. Not because he's incapable of playing at a fast paced game, but just because why would you not want to make those things better for your quarterback?
Mm.
one of the best defensive coordinators in the game at shutting down these really complex offenses is Steve Spagnuolo. And if they're going to shut down Daniel Jones, which we are all aware that under certain pressures, Daniel Jones goes from a princess to a pumpkin very, very fast. It's Alec Pierce who's gonna suffer. It's gonna be Michael Pittman who's gonna suffer as a direct response of that.
Yeah.
Also, honourable mention to who did I have there? Xavier Weber. Um, and especially since just since as the Chiefs get back with talent that's arrived and all that sort of stuff, we noticed that Xavier Weber's been kind of seen a bit less.
Yeah.
So getting on to, I'm gonna let you start us on this one, Sam, because I know this is your favourite. Talk to us about some tight ends. Football
Tight
players.
ends. Now, tight ends. I'll start off with the one that I would probably be sitting this week, unless you kind of unless you've got a load of good wide receivers, you probably have to play them anyway. But
Yeah,
I'd probably be if you've got a plethora of tight ends like I always seem to have in any of my leagues, I'd maybe consider not playing Jake Ferguson this week.
yeah,
Again, for the same reasons about the Philadelphia Eagles, he is going to be a threat. The only thing I could maybe say is that the Eagles defense can't stop everyone. And if you've got a choice between stopping Pickens, CD Lamb, and Jake Ferguson, who are you stopping? Or who are you out of those two, who are you going to target the most? It's going to be Lamb that you're going to want to stop, and then Pickens second, and then probably Jake Ferguson third. So the only thing that would maybe caveat that is Dak's got to pass to someone. It's probably out of all of those, probably going to likely be Jake Ferguson. The only thing that it is that the Philadelphia Eagles are the second best team against tight ends. So again, it depends really. And like we say, it's not always games aren't played on stats. And even though the Eagles are the second best against tight ends, Jake Ferguson can still have a day. But I think if you've got enough depth players that you can play someone else, I'd maybe consider sitting Jake Ferguson. Um, Last week, he played against um, the Raiders in that really sort of poor game. Um, he only managed 11 points in that game, seven the week before against the Cardinals. He didn't get any against the Broncos. So I suppose he's sort of on a little lull given the start of the season that he had. And I can't see him improving too much on that next week or this week, should I say?
yeah. The only tight ends I've really been looking at have been inappropriate to say on this podcast. When we talk about the football position, though, Mark Andrews against the Jets this week, that's a tasty one. The Jets are terrible. They've won a couple of games. Now you know, lost one again. The Jets are just terrible. They're the
And
Jets. Like
and
they've
Mark
got.
Andrews can apparently now play at running back as well.
Yes, there is that. There is that added feature to Mark Andrews' game. Then, as far as a sitter, it hurts to say Colston Loveland. Um, he's just he had a couple of games where I thought he was going to break out, but now it looks like he's not really going to break out and have this wonderful, magnificent season like the stallion that he is, um, coming out of whatever incredible college he went to when he did go to college because he's a wonderful, fantastic player coming out of college. I don't think, and the Steelers, if there's going to be one position that they will match up well against. It'll be it's the tight end position. Cole Kmet will be their number one tight end anyway. Colston Loveland will have to sit back a little bit, let whatever happen, and it is what it is. If anyone wants to just chirp in at any point and just tell me what in whatever college you went to, because it must be just a fantastic college because you clearly raised them so well. Do you want to talk about kickers and defenses?
Kickers are people too.
They are. What do you want to talk about? Is the question.
Um,
I didn't ask for the.
I would say probably not because I generally speaking, for fantasy purposes, kickers are fairly consistent with points and tend to sort of hold steady with. I think that the problem is that you're always kickers are always going to score points no matter what because the team will either get them into the right places and then they'll obviously get field goals. The only difference is will they get field goals over extra points? I'd maybe be looking at someone like Chase McLaughlin against the Buccaneers. I think they may struggle to keep it to get it in the end zone against the Rams. So maybe you might, we saw what the Rams did against the Seahawks and held them to what was it, 4 field goals in the end.
Yeah.
So that'd maybe be something that I would be looking at as someone like a Chase McLaughlin.
You're
Maybe
looking at.
someone like Tyler Loop if you're not already starting
Yeah.
him. But I think generally speaking, you're probably going to keep starting Brandon Aubrey because you imagine that he's going to at least get into some form of kicking position. I don't think really points change too much really with kickers.
No. Cam Little, obviously, always as well. He's a good one. You can't
Mm,
imagine the Jags are going to run the score, and it won't be touchdown after touchdown after touchdown against the Cardinals. There will be points where they have to kick a field goal. Cam Little
mhm.
is normally money. The ones you want to sit probably going to be Jake Bates. I imagine the Lions are going to get a fair few touchdowns against.
But then if they get a fair few touchdowns, he's going to get points, extra points. So you will still want to maybe start him. Um,
Yeah, but like I was saying, just in comparison to other kickers, when you given the position you're in, well, like look, 90% of the leagues that you're going to be in, they're going to be 12 teams all under.
mm,
Because I've been in a 32 team one once. I'm never doing that again. Um,
no, neither am I.
and by the way, which was an automatic auto draft, and I walked away with no quarterback. I'm not getting into that'll be a great conversation to have on the fantasy den one day, about certain stories like that. But yeah, you're looking at teams where most people have one kicker on the roster, given roster limitations. So like you will have 11 kickers that you can't use and 21 kickers that you can. The vast majority, okay, you might have to let one come to you on a waiver wire, but most of them are like no one's going in chopping, changing the kickers every week. Not like I used to. I did used to do that a few years ago, and it's annoying when that one person's changing the kicker every week. So I'd say as far as that goes, you're looking at if you have a pool and someone else is available, you're not going to go out and get a Jake Bates over when you have those other options.
Yeah.
Um, Defenses.
Um, this is always a difficult one because defenses are so. I always find them so hard to call as to who you're going to actually take. Um, Probably if I'm going to start one, I'm probably looking at the Detroit Lions. Probably, possibly Um, who are the Titans playing again? Whoever the Titans are
Seahawks.
playing. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd have the
that defense is
Hawks.
going to get some.
Yeah. And then probably, I mean, I'd be tempted to start the Patriots defense because I think, they've been getting at the quarterback and, you know, that could be some another potential where they could. And then that's probably all I would maybe look at. It's a lot of it. There's a lot of difficult games this week. I think, Indiana of the Eagles would probably be a team that I would start, but I still think that the Colts are going to put up some points against the Chiefs. The Chiefs don't tend to get a lot of scoring points because they don't necessarily they're just very good at getting pressure. But I don't think they necessarily get a lot of interceptions, a lot of
They
forced
don't.
fumbles and things like that. So they just do well not to concede a lot of points.
As far as takeaways go, the Chiefs are tied for 24th with 9 takeaways all season,
Mm.
6 interceptions, 3 fumbles.
Yeah, so they're not the most prolific. They just Spug just has them applying a lot of pressure, which usually just results in incompletions more than anything.
Yeah, and like I say, you're looking at we're in week 12, so teams have had 11 games. Some teams have played 10. The Bears have had 22 takeaways. The Rams have had 18. The Steelers 18. Jags 18. Bucks have had, and Texans have had 16. Cleveland, Colts both got 14. Like, there are teams that are getting more than one takeaway a game. Those are the things that will get you points. If you
Mm.
can get a Chicago, clearly their defense is doing things. If you can get a Rams, clearly their defense, they're doing the things that get you points. And if they're turning into things like pick sixes, um, and as far as like you, I said, where is the jug? The Cardinals are likely going to give away a turnover or two. Who's the best in? Who's the worst in giveaways? Oh, see, the Seahawks are the worst in giveaways. They've had 20 giveaways, done 11 interceptions,
Yeah,
9 fumbles. The
that doesn't help with
Vikings,
the fact that they gave away four last week.
no, it does not. And you've got the Dolphins with 17, the Bengals with 16. Like, these are the teams, like, if you've got a defense who's in those top 5 or 6 against a team that's in the top 5 or 6 of giveaways, they're matchups where you're like, you're in money there with a
Yeah,
defense. So, I mean, that's it for fantasy football. And like, it, I love playing fantasy football. I really, really do. One other thing I like to do during a week, though, is I like to do a couple of bets. Might have a couple of bets on at the weekend while this happens. I don't know if you do either of these two. And you might have had to just make up all your fantasy football stuff on the spot. I don't know if you play it or not.
I do, unfortunately, a lot too much.
You do.
It's
Well,
it's a
if
sickness.
if you do, then there are some guys that we know that might be able to help you out. They go by the name of Fantasy Game Day. They are the UK's first and only NFL daily fantasy app made by UK fans for UK fans. You can pick a roster, set your lineup to a budget, pay a couple of quid to get in the game first. Oh, forgot to say that bit. That bit's very, very important. Can't do it for free. But once you do, you compete against other UK fans. You can compete against me. You compete against Sam. You compete against other UK content creators as well. Now, if you think that you have fantasy football knowledge that's better than me or Sam, you probably have, like, definitely not Sam. Sam will kick your ass, but you might be able to beat me, and that's always a good start. You could win a few quid in the process just by downloading the Fantasy Game Day app. And when you sign up, use the code HRDLE, that is hurdle without the U.
There's no hurdle the line without you.
And when you do so, they will give you £7.50 in free plays. You must be over the age of 18 and please gamble responsibly if the fun stops. When the fun stops, stop. Now that stuck in my head, and I was like, I said to you, we had a reply on Twitter that was totally random earlier today off the avocados in Mexico. Now, I implore anyone who has watched college football, especially college football, on the zone lately, you will have seen that ad, and now all that's stuck in my head is the avocados from Mexico. And I can't, this is going to be a problem for until the weekend. It'll get out of my head. I'll be safe. I'll be sane. Then I'll turn on college football and it'll start a cycle again. And this will be painful for weeks. So I apologize to anyone who will come up against some avocados in Mexico jingle singing. Um, as we get to this point of the season, though, Sam, one of the things I'm really interested in is we've spoke about the playoffs, we've spoke about all these different things that are going on. It is such a key moment in the season when you get into week 12 because there are 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. There are 6 regular season weeks to go. Some teams still have to play in a bye week. We've got Thanksgiving coming up next week. Oh, yeah, by the way, Thanksgiving next week, a week today. There will be football on literally a week today. You just at a point of there are some teams where they need to win. If they win, they can kick off and really like they need to start. They can go ahead and get this last chunk of the season strong. They lose, you're kind of done. Are there any teams right now that you're looking at and you think, oh, you really need to make something happen right now?
Yeah, I want to apologize in advance to one of our co-hosts for this. It's the Chiefs.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think, losing to the Broncos was huge. And
Mhm.
they're now 5-5. They're not in playoff contention. They're on the precipice. But the problem is they've now got to go up against the Colts, who are another 8-2/9-2 team. And that's to me is because I mean, apart from the going forward, they've got the Cowboys, Texans, and the Titans and the Raiders. So 1, 2, 3, 4 games. If they win all 4 of those, that would put them as 9-5. But then they've got the Colts, the Chargers, and the Broncos. And if they lose those, they'll be 9-8, and I don't think that's enough to get them in the playoffs this year.
No,
So for
not without
me,
the way potential tiebreakers could work as well.
yeah. So I think this Colts game is a massive decider on how their season goes. Because they lose that game, I think that their playoff chances are pretty much done unless they won out, and that is a very difficult thing to do, especially in the fact that they've already lost the Broncos and they've already lost the Chargers this year already.
Yeah. Um,
So,
I absolutely agree with you. Another team I think who are in that kind of place though as well, though it's for slightly different reasons, is the Jacksonville Jaguars.
mm,
Their 4-1 start to the season is starting to look, with all due respect to them, a little fraudulent.
mm,
Yes, they beat the Chiefs. Yes, they beat the Niners. Yes, they beat the Texans. Yes, they beat the Panthers. They are average to good teams. But they lost to the Bengals. They lost to the Seahawks. They lost to the Rams. They also lost to the Texans. Now the Bengals are they're the Bungles. The less said about them, the better. But
mm,
that Bengals loss was when they had Joe Burrow. It's when Joe Burrow went down, wasn't it? Um,
yeah,
but the Seahawks are a good team. You lose. The Rams are a very good team, and they got I believe I know
decimated.
someone who was there.
Yeah, that was
Someone got to
that was
watch
an
that one.
exciting game to watch. Unless
I
you're unless
imagine
you're
it.
a, unless you're a Jaguars fan, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, got absolutely pummeled by the LA Rams, whose flight landed outside Wembley, and they got off the plane and went onto the field
Yeah.
and played. Basically, got
20
decimated. Stafford killed.
24 hours before. And everyone questioned that thought, didn't they? It was all, why are they leaving it so late? But it worked. And obviously, we talked about it in that game, but like, do more teams do that now? Just fly over for the 24 hours, do their things that they need to do on the Saturday, and then win and go home.
Yeah, I don't treat it like a holiday. Treat it like a business trip.
Mm,
That's what it is. That's what
yeah.
you're there to do. Um, Unlike, say, you're a college team and you're turning up, like, I don't know what's going to happen at the Union Jack Classic coming up, but you can hear all about on the College Football UK podcast. We'll be talking about that one for months to come. Yes, if you're a 19-year-old coming to England, going to Ireland, go and have the time of your life. You may never get to do this again. If you are an NFL player, you've made that level of money. You can go on holiday in the off season if you want to and go and see another country. Like, you've got no real excuse. But what I'm trying to get at really is like they played good teams and lost. They played average to crap teams and won. They started 4-1. They've gone 3-2 since. They had a losing record in October. They are 2-1 in November. They're not in the greatest runs of form, and they are now contesting with a Houston Texans team that has won 3 out of the last 4. They started 0-3 and they have won 5 of the last 7.
Yeah. And they've still got to play the Colts twice and the Broncos.
Yeah, well, obviously they did. But the Texans also have to play the Colts twice. They have to play the Chiefs. They have to play the Bills. They have a
Mm,
difficult run coming up, but it's not like, okay, the Jags have the Jets. Like, that's about as easy as it gets at the moment in time. And the Titans,
yeah.
but it's like Titans twice even.
Mm,
But there are some of those games where you just say, because you are the Jacksonville Jaguars, you will lose that one.
mm,
Because you're the Jags, you're gonna lose it. And if they don't get their shit together and get their shit together fast, the Texans can start playing can start catching back up to them, and you're starting looking at the start of December, maybe by December 14th, you're neck and neck in the division, and it could be the case of whoever wins the division gets in the playoffs, whoever doesn't, gone,
mm.
no playoffs.
And we already know that the Colts are pretty much likely to wrap this division up. You would like to think the way that they've been playing, but the
Why
Jags
did
have
I forget
still
the
got.
Colts are in the South?
I don't know
Totally forgot.
because it's usually that it's such a bad division, and
There's
the
that.
Colts are doing well.
There's that, and the Indianapolis is not South. Like,
Yeah.
it's not that far. It's like upper Midwest.
Mm. I think it's this Cardinals game. If they don't win this, they go 6-5. The Texans were playing. Who the Texans got this week? They play tonight against the Bills.
Yeah,
The Texans could. I'm not saying they will, but they could win that. Say they win that game. That puts a lot of pressure on the Jags because then they could potentially lose that a game which they should win against the Cardinals, but could easily lose. And then that means that both the the Texans and the Jags have the exact same record going into the last what 6 games,
yeah,
and that's where you know that's where the doubt starts to creep in. Yeah, and I get the Texans have still got to play the Colts, the Chiefs, the Chargers, and the Colts again. But if they can beat the Bills, the Texans can beat anyone because that's the mentality that they'll have, especially if they win
yeah.
tonight. And you don't want to be going up against a team that has after the bad start that the Texans had as well. You remember they were 3-0 in the 0-3 in the first three games.
Yeah,
You do not want to be going into that last stretch thinking we were 4-1. We're now the same as the Texans who were 0-3. And it changes the whole dynamic of the AFC South.
yeah,
And I think that the Jaguars have also got to be thinking we need to win games because there is a potential chance that we could be in the playoffs.
yeah,
So I think that they've like you said, they can't afford to continue being so inconsistent.
yeah. Um, my one more thing that I want to mention is the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Mhm.
But they kind of come with the like hand in hand right now with the Baltimore Ravens. So again, the Steelers started 1-5. So not 1-5. I want to say they started 4-1.
Yeah.
They started 1-0 in the division. Now they're 1-1 in the division, 2-1 in the division. Sorry, but they started 1-4. The Ravens started 1-5.
Mm.
The Ravens have won
We were
four in a
talking
row.
after about 5 or 6 weeks that the Steelers had this division locked up already.
Yep. And that
And
John
now they
Harbaugh might lose his job because it's that bad.
yeah. And now we're talking about the Ravens could take back their spot at the
Yep.
top of the division, which is worrying given the position that they were both in. Um, I also think as well, given the fact that they're playing the Bears this week, I think they're going to need to make a statement because the Bears are in a good position right now, a position I don't think they fully deserve to be in. But I think that the Steelers, you look at who the Steelers have actually played this year and who they've beaten and who they've not. Again, similar to what we were talking about before, they've lost to the Chargers. Yes, they did beat the Colts, lost to the Packers, lost to the Seahawks. And again, yes, they did beat the Patriots, but they're in a position where if they want to be seen as serious playoff contenders, they need to be beating teams that are of similar or better record than their own.
Absolutely.
And especially as, again, they've got a tough run in after they've got the Bears this week, they've got the Bills next week, who either could be 7-4 or 8-3, and then you've got the Ravens. It's as we would class in English football a 6-pointer.
Yep.
The Dolphins. But then you've got the Lions, the Browns, which is never an easy game, and then the Ravens.
Yep.
So you want to be, if you want to be considered serious Super Bowl potential or whatever, I think you've got to be going into that Ravens game with a better record than the Ravens.
Have to. Have
And
to.
that means beating the Bears this week. Yes, okay, you may lose to the Bills, but that'll still have you as 7-5. And the Ravens have got the Jets and the Bengals. So you've got to be the same or better than them. You cannot be in a position where going into that game, the Ravens have caught you, have taken over you. They can catch you up, fine, but they cannot overtake you.
If by the end, when it got to week 6, when the Steelers had their bye, they were 4-1. By the end of it, the Ravens were 1-5. If you have then by week 14, the end of week 14, You are now second in that division to the team that started 1-5, and then Joe Burrow's on his way back. And they're only, just remind myself one more time, they've had 3 wins. They're only 3 wins behind. If you're not careful, I genuinely, and I've said this on this pod, I've said this on the review pod when I've kind of slipped into conversation a couple of times. Tomlin has to go. I'm
Mm,
sorry, you can't allow that to have happened when you brought in Aaron Rodgers, for crying out loud.
mm,
You were supposed to have the guy who was let down by going to the Jets, one of the best quarterbacks of all time. You brought him in. He's going on this one last hurrah with this coach that's also his mate, that's also does all.
mm.
That is unforgivable.
Yeah. I mean, the Steelers have always had a solid enough defense. We've known that. They haven't changed. They're still a good defense. The one criticism we've always had of the Steelers is their ability to put points on the board. And I think you look at those first few games that they played, or I would say the opening game against the Jets, they put 34 points on the board. But since then, 17, 21, 24, 23, 31, 25. Like it's not been consistent enough. And yes, okay, they put up 34 points against the Bengals last week, but they brought in a lot of pieces into that offense to make them
Yeah.
a lot more potent. Obviously, they brought in Aaron Rodgers, they brought in DK Metcalf, they brought in Jonnu Smith. They brought in a lot of pieces to try and make that offense click. And now's the time to start showing teams who you're made of. We talk, you know, you've got to beat teams that are going to be in and around the playoffs now. You've got to do it. And like I say, if they lose both of those games against the Bears and the Bills, I think they lose that game against the Ravens.
Yeah,
And at that point, there's got to be serious questions about Mike Tomlin's position as head coach.
absolutely. Given the fantasy topic, I'm not going to make you drop a load more fantasy names and prices for fantasy game day and all that stuff. I think we've kind of covered out who the top ones should be. I just want to drop really quickly my game of the week, and then we can wrap it up nice and early, Sam. See what happens when we don't have Carl dropping in between, going through 32 teams worth of uniforms. No, I'm joking, Carl. My game of the week this week is the Buccaneers at the LA Rams, that is the way around, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
The Buccaneers at the Rams. Bucks are 6-4. They're also at a crossroads, I think. The Rams are at 8-2. They're not so much at a crossroads. They're doing quite well right now. They're,
Number
but
one power ranked team in the NFL at the moment, apparently. To
but I
which
think
did did I, did you see the interview with Sean McVay when they were telling him about the power rankings?
no.
He was asked, like they said, "Oh, the Rams are the Week 11's number one power rankings team. How do you sort of feel about that?" And he went, "I don't care." And then he was like, "Who?" And then because he was like, because they were saying, "Well, at the end of the day, to a coach, it shouldn't really matter. It's more for fans and that." He was like, he turned around and went, "Who was the number one power rankings in Week 11 last year?" And they kind of fumbled for a bit. And he went, "You don't know. Just no one cares about it." And he was like, I don't. To me, the power rankings, I don't give a shit about." And it was just such an honest review of like how much college coaches in general, whether it's college or that, I don't think they give a flying fuck about all of this journalistic nonsense that we create to make ourselves feel better about who the best team in the NFL is and all of this. Um, it's
Unless, because this is what it is. The AP poll is a power ranking. Let's face
true.
it, that's pretty much
Yeah.
what it is. That is a power ranking, right? That one kind of matters again. Like we spoke about in the college pod, you get money from being. you get, you higher up on the TV order, you get put on the bigger channels, you get more
Yeah,
money, you get more eyes, you get more viewers, if you're on, you get better recruits, you do all these different things that are a lot
yeah,
better in college, they somewhat care. They don't give a flying fuck who Fox's power ranked college top 25 is.
no,
Don't give shits about that one. I don't mean shit. They give a crap about the when you go on TV and there is a number next to your name that isn't a record. That's the one they give a crap about.
mm,
Fox, when they put on TV, when they go on TV and they put X at X, the ranking either side is the AP poll ranking. It's not the Fox ranking.
yeah,
That's the only one they care about. And right now, no one gives a flying fuck about that one either, because the college playoff brackets are
yeah.
out.
The playoff matters now.
So no, you're absolutely right. No one cares. And again,
Yeah,
I could tell you he was number one power out last week. Don't
yeah,
pay attention to
exactly.
it. So yeah, I think these two teams are the Colts and the Chiefs was a good one to look at. The Bengals Texans could have potentially been a good one to look at. Even the Steelers and the Bears, but I thought, why not? I'm gonna go with the Bucks and the Rams. I think it promises the most in terms of just a lot to what it's got so much on offer. Now, this game has been played 29 times in history. Sam, and I'm gonna educate you in your own franchise here. If we're gonna put it in a patronizing way. 29 times all time. The Rams have won 19 of those 29 games. So one more win. You've won 20. They've won 10. You've won officially two-thirds of these matchups. The first game of this matchup was in 1997. 19, no, not 1997, sorry, 1977. They met in the playoffs three times in history. In 1980, they played in the NFC Championship game. The Rams won 9-0. In
Big,
2000, they met
huge
in the
game.
massive game. In 2000, they met in the NFC Championship game. The Rams won 11-6. You can tell that these two teams produced just barnstorming masterclasses of offense. And in 2022, they met in the NFC divisional round. That was 2021 season. The 2000 was actually the 1999 season. They met in the divisional round where the Rams won 30-27. Much better game offensively. I'm sure we can
Yeah,
agree. Do you know what was special about all three of those games, Sam? Do you know what happened after all three of those games in the playoffs?
Rams went on to win the Super Bowl.
They went on to the Super Bowl in
No, they only won.
1980.
They only won the 2022 one.
In 1980, they went to the Super Bowl but lost to the Steelers. In 2000, they won the Super Bowl against not the Bucks. Can't be the Bucks because they just beat the Bucks in the championship game. Which AFC team? I'm pretty sure that
Oh,
was a Kurt Warner Super Bowl, wasn't it? As
it was
well.
the Kurt Warner Super Bowl. Yeah, this is testing my knowledge now because this is
It
before
is.
I started supporting them.
Wait, I think this was when we were still at school, Sam.
Oh yeah, I mean I was 7, so I didn't even know what the NFL was at that stage. Um, was it the? You know what? I'm just gonna look it up. It's easier. um, it was Patriots
Patriots. Okay. Um,
beat them
and
2017.
pardon.
Beat them 2017.
Yeah, sorry, I thought you said you beat them in 2017, and I was like, we're
No,
not talking about that one, Sam, and I don't think you did. Um,
no, 20. We beat them
22
22-17.
17, yeah. Then in 2022, in the divisional round, the Rams went, 2000, Rams went to the Super Bowl, won the Super Bowl in 2022. The Rams then went to the Super Bowl, and I do believe Snoop Dogg crip walked, Eminem performed, Dr. Dre was there, Joe Burrow
50
shit the
Cent,
bed.
50 Cent was upside down.
50 Cent was upside down. He was looking a bit more like a dollar at this point in time. And the LA Rams won the Super Bowl. And do you know what's the worst thing that's resurfaced this week on social media from that reminds me of that? Obviously, that was the first year of Matthew Stafford.
Hmm.
The Detroit Lions had a first round draft pick riding on this game. No, I didn't get the difference between 31 and 32. Don't give two shits, right? I was more than happy personally just to say I don't care about the pick. The difference between 31 and 32 is not big enough for me to say, fuck, go on, Stafford. You win it. Go on, just do it. Go get a ring. A lot of Lions fans took that way too far. And the Detroit Rams t-shirts have resurfaced on my social media this week. There's this whole, can you remember that this was a thing? And I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to like,
Yeah, I can remember that. Because we
so
when I was in a couple of Facebook groups, and before the Super Bowl, the amount of all of a sudden Detroit Lions in Rams groups glazing over Matt Stafford to win the Super Bowl was insane.
yeah. I mean, like, I get it, right? Look, there is Stafford was incredible for us. And the majority of reasonable people who support the Lions, that it's not a lot of people apparently, have nothing but nice things to say about Stafford. Like you want to see him succeed. He's a genuinely nice guy. He's but absolutely a Hall of Fame player.
Unless he's playing
Deserves
against you, of course.
well, obviously.
Then he just gets booed to high hell. But
I think that was I think the one game was fine. The other one was just don't care anymore. The first game had to be done. It was the playoffs. It was it was our first home playoff game in 30 in my life. I think you have to go in and create that atmosphere.
yeah,
Um, the booing is just, no, I'm not getting into what Kelly Stafford said. I'm not doing that. But I
yeah,
think
we're going to ignore. I mean, she's the unfortunate
consequence
part
of
of the Stafford life that you have to deal with.
yeah. But I just I hate how many people took it one way too far. There were
Mm,
people out there who were willing to get abusive over the fact that we could get the 31st pick in the draft, and people want us to get the 32nd pick in the draft. Who gives two shits? It is the
mm,
30 odd pick. It's a glorified second rounder.
yeah.
Um, and yeah, then there were people out there who were being outright and downright abusive to people who didn't want Stafford to win. Like it was horrible. But you think half and half scarves are bad, which I do. I hate half and half scarves.
Mm. Half and half jerseys are just as bad, if not
I
worse.
I
The
don't think
only the only person that has the is allowed to wear a half and half jersey is Mrs. Kelsey. She's the only person that's allowed to do it because she has two sons in a Super Bowl.
see even then I was talking to it was Mrs. Fletch not long ago and she was like, yeah, but what would you do? I said, I'd pick a favorite fucking child. I'd sooner pick a favorite child.
Well, no, I disagree with that one. It's the only one that I deem acceptable because both of her sons were in the Super Bowl. However, the year, any years after, there's obviously only one son now that can be in a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
You're wearing that jersey only. You're not wearing the half and half now.
yeah. Um, we'll agree to disagree. I have too much of a visceral reaction to this kind of thing. But like the merging of logos. Sickos committee, they do hate week. So Sickos committee for the college football, they're gonna do, and I know this is about to start happening next week. They do like color swap logos. So they'll
Yeah,
do
CNN
Michigan,
don't CNN do that for
CBS. Yeah, yeah, CBS do
CBS
it.
do it, don't they, every week for the NFL? And never seemed to
Yeah,
do the Rams though. It really annoyed me because every week I'd watch it to see if they'd do the Rams, and they half the time they never did them. I got
but
really annoyed.
whoever the graphics, I know there are certain like certain versions of these logos that you can get. I have versions for the college football logos where you can change the colors within them, just dead easy. Just click on different
Mm.
colors. The Rams, what? I don't have them for the NFL ones. I need to try and get them. But I know that because they've got the fade one. I don't know if it's just difficult to get one of the same file type where you can have a fade
Yeah,
with
we've
it.
we've got ones where it's one singular color for the yellow,
Right.
but generally, but I get what that because it is two different shades. But
Yeah, I'm gonna say because that's where it comes in with the because where it links in with the A, it fades in, doesn't it?
yeah,
Um. Anyway, that's so not part and parcel. Thank you very, very much to anyone who has listened. We hope you have the best week at fantasy football. Come and tell us about your fantasy football picks in the Discord server. Again, links in the description of the episode. Follow us on social media. Tune in on Tuesday morning for our review team. You'll have Ollie, you'll have Tom. Facebook superstar Ollie, by the way. Ollie. Tom and Chapman on will be with you on Tuesday morning to review all the games. On Saturday we'll have the pick'ems out. If it's not Saturday already, we'll have our pick'ems. We'll have the graphics out. We'll have everything. And yeah, we will see you. We will see you next week if we haven't seen you for the College Football UK episode on Thursday morning.